Do you ever wonder why your mornings feel like you are just stuck on a hamster wheel? You're running at full speed around your house in the morning, rushing to get the kids out the door on time, but you feel like you're just running in place and not making any progress. No matter how hard you push, no matter how loud you yell, mornings just feel like pure chaos for you. You're not alone with this. And what if shifting one thing could change everything for your mornings? Now, before we jump in, I want to encourage you to sign up for my brand new free workshop, Master Your Morning Routine. This is a live workshop that's happening on September 8th at noon Eastern. So get it on your calendar now, today, as you're listening to this. By the end of the workshop, you are going to actually have a brand new morning routine mapped out in a way that fuels you instead of draining you. Now, you can head to thelauraddavis.com/morning to save your spot and add this to your calendar now. I cannot wait to see you there. All right, let's get into today's episode. Now, what is coming today for you is the one thing that can take your morning from a chaotic circus to a calm, cool, and collected experience. We're also going to talk about how to build a smoother start to your morning. And I'm going to give you some actual examples of what I'm teaching in this episode to you so that you can really understand the concept and it'll stick in your brain because you'll have real life examples for you. Okay. So first I want to talk about why mornings matter for you as a working mom. Like, I think we all know that there's this underlying thought and feeling that mornings are really important, but I don't know that we do a great job as working moms really understanding or digging into why the mornings matter so much. So here's a really interesting statistic that I read. Mothers experience significantly higher morning cortisol on work days compared to non-work days. So much so that it's almost 50% higher. Now, remember that cortisol is your stress hormone. Okay, so when you're stressed, you have cortisol spikes. And we could go into the science of the physiological reaction that your body and your mind has to cortisol spikes. But the easiest and kind of simplest way that I feel like it is to think about is that when your cortisol spikes, that's when you are more likely to go into the fight or flight mode. And really, it's technically three F's. It's fight, flight, or freeze. Personally, I'm a freezer. Like if I'm getting stressed and my cortisol is spiking, I freeze. I shut down and I do nothing, which is not a great stress response. But it's literally like for working moms that your brain is chemically primed to be stressed out before your coffee even finishes brewing, right? Because listen to what that statistic said. On work days compared to non-work days, your cortisol is more likely to spike by 50% higher. And I feel like that is just an astronomical statistic for us as working moms that when we sit back and we really think about that, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like it's like, oh, okay, this is why mornings are so important for us. And it's also why mornings feel so hard for us. And it means that your stress response is basically already activated just because it's the morning time during the work week. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. You likely are not doing anything purposefully wrong. It is just that the mornings are wired for us as working moms to be a little bit more difficult as opposed to weekends when we don't have to get to work. We don't have to rush the kids to school. We're not trying to get everyone in one place at one time, right? So another study from the American Psychological Association found that nearly 3 out of 4 moms report that mornings are the most stressful part of their day. And that supports what we just talked about with that 50% higher likelihood of there being cortisol spikes during the work week than there are on the weekends, right? And so if 3 out of 4 moms, if 75% of moms are saying that mornings are the most stressful part of their day, then with those two statistics, I think we can very confidently say that work day mornings are likely one of the peak moments for a working mom to experience stress. So why does this matter? Why does, like, I feel like I'm just giving you statistics for things that you already feel and know on a deeper level. So why does this matter? Because if we don't intentionally manage the mental part of mornings, we end up stuck in a reactive mode. And that's where the snapping comes in. That's where the spiraling into chaos comes in. That's where the default into survival mode comes in instead of thriving. Instead of looking at your mornings in a completely different light and having the tools, being equipped with the tools and the knowledge on how to turn chaotic mornings into a calm, cool, collected, peaceful experience for you and for your family and your kids. Because I don't know about you, but I have some very vivid memories as a kid. And my mom is hands down one of the, like, a phenomenal mom. Like, she sacrificed everything for me. She was a single mom. She worked full time and she did such a good job raising me. Like, I'm so thankful for my mom. And I also have very vivid memories of the stress and anxiety of trying to get out the door and rushing out the door, and mornings just being this, like, just this ball of chaos when I was a kid, right? And so for me as a mom, I have really set out on a journey of not giving Harper that experience. I want her to think of mornings as one of her favorite parts of the day. I want her to think of mornings as a calm time in our house that she gets to wake up, enjoy the morning, enjoy time with me and Zach, enjoy time with herself. She gets to eat a nutritious breakfast, and she gets to start her day feeling really grounded and intentional instead of feeling like, whew, I'm glad that that chaos is over, right? Because I think you know what I'm talking about if you've been there. So many of us think that our mornings begin when we get out of bed, right? And we drag ourselves to the bathroom and we put in our contacts and we wash our face. And we're like, okay, the morning has now started. But your morning actually doesn't start with actions. It starts with your thoughts. So when you first wake up and you're laying in bed, your thoughts are the very first thing that start your day. And if you're anything like me, I know that I personally have experienced this, where I will be laying in bed and working moms will frequently tell themselves, and I'm guilty of this too, today is going to suck. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't feel like having to deal with with getting my kids ready today. My to-do list is way too long. I don't have enough time for everything I need to get done. I don't feel like being in meetings all day for work. I don't feel like dealing with getting the kids on the bus. You have all of these thoughts that you think before your feet ever hit the ground. So what is one thing that you can do to transform your mornings? Your thoughts about your morning. Now, I want you to stick with me. Okay, this is not like a typical mindset pep talk that just tells you to think more positive. This is not a thought model from Brooke Castillo, which I'm not a fan of. If you know anything about me, I think that you're not going to be gaslighting yourself, right? With what I'm going to share with you today. This is not a typical mindset pep talk. Instead, I want to give you one really powerful action that shows you how to start to shift your mindset without that toxic positivity or that gaslighting yourself, okay? So inside of Time Management Academy, I teach clients this concept called bridge thoughts. And bridge thoughts are a part of like a psychological framework. And when I read about bridge thoughts, I thought that they were so powerful. And I don't remember the exact context or where I read about bridge thoughts, but it wasn't in the context of your time. And so I remember having this thought of like, why can't I apply bridge thoughts to the way that we think about our time? Okay. And so bridge thoughts are like a really powerful technique that helps you take negative, stress inducing thoughts and turn them into more comforting and motivating thoughts that are still realistic, right? Because I think sometimes this is This is an over dramatic example, but you're going to understand what I'm talking about. So whenever we are talking about like manifesting, and I'm a big fan of manifesting, right? But whenever we talk about those, and sometimes you'll see like journal prompts of like, write down what you want to have happen as if it is already a fact. Well, I don't know about you, but I would love to be a billionaire. But if I write down I am a billionaire, my brain is like, that's so far removed from reality that it's actually causing more mental anguish than it is helping to motivate me. So if the thoughts that you are thinking, if you're trying to think more positively, if you're trying to change your actions and you start with your thoughts, you have to still be in some form of reality, right? So you can't be like, oh, I want to be a billionaire, so I'm going to write down every day that I'm a billionaire, because your brain isn't going to believe that. That's not, there is no speckle of reality in that. So before we get into bridge thoughts, I want to talk about what a bridge is and the definition of a bridge, because I think that it's really interesting. The definition of a bridge is that it connects where you are to where you want to go. So again, if we're thinking about the thoughts that we think, and if we're changing our thoughts to be more positive so that we can change our attitude and our intentions for the day and therefore change our actions for the day, then a bridge is taking you where you are to where you want to go. So bridge thoughts connect your default thought to a more supportive belief of the future reality that you want to experience, even if you're not there yet. And how cool is that, right? Like, you literally have the ability to help your brain rewire and grow into a more positive default setting. And I think that that is just so cool. So I want to look at a couple of examples of real bridge thoughts that you can use starting tomorrow morning. You could even use them today if you wanted to, but really pick one bridge thought and see if changing your thought tomorrow morning is helpful, and see how it makes you feel, right? So example one, maybe the default thought is, I have too much on my to-do list this morning. I won't be able to get everything done today. I don't know about you, but I have definitely said that to myself before. And it feels like a boulder is just sitting on your chest, because you know that you are about to trudge through mud that day trying to get everything done. But your bridge thought could be, I have a lot on my to-do list today, and I know how to create a game plan to get the important things done. So notice that I'm not saying, and I'm not telling you to say like, oh, I'm going to get my entire to-do list done today. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you are acknowledging the reality. I have a lot on my to-do list today. And then you are also giving yourself encouragement to know how to handle it without gaslighting yourself, or without tiptoeing into that toxic positivity, right? So again, the bridge thought is, I have a lot on my to-do list today, and I know how to create a game plan to get the important things done. Because when you tell your brain that you have a solution, that's comforting for your brain. That's comfort. You are going to start to get out of that fight or flight stress response, and you're not going to have as big of a cortisol spike. Another example, my kids always make me late. Okay. The bridge thought could be, if I prep their backpacks with them the night before, they'll feel ownership and we will move faster. So again, instead of saying, oh, my kids always make me so late, that's still stressing you out, right? Instead saying, if I prep their backpacks with them the night before, they're going to feel ownership over that process, and we'll all be able to move faster. A third example is, I'm just not a morning person. How many times have you thought that? Or how many times have you heard someone else say that? I'm just not a morning person. I'm just not a morning person. Your bridge thought could be, I may not prefer mornings right now, but I love the way I feel when I get quiet time first thing to start my day, and that is worth waking up early for. Now, I realize that that's a long thought, but do you see how I went from, I'm just not a morning person, to, I may not prefer mornings right now, but I love the way I feel when I have quiet time first thing in the morning. And that is worth waking up early for. A fourth example is I have to do everything myself in the morning. My husband and kids don't help me. I have to do everything myself in the morning. My husband and kids don't help me. How many of you have felt that before? Have you thought that or some form of that? Your bridge thought could be, my family can't read my mind. There is a lot to get done in the mornings, and we are going to work together as a team to accomplish those things, even if someone doesn't do it exactly how I would do it. Now, you might want shorter bridge thoughts, so you can take any part of that thought, but it's important to acknowledge the fact that there is a lot to do in the morning, and you guys can work as a team to get it done, right? So I want you to think about bridge thoughts in another way. I want you to think about when you are driving somewhere and suddenly there's a broken down car on the highway, right? And your GPS comes on and notifies you that it is rerouting you to go a different way. So you're still going to get to the same destination, right? But your GPS is rerouting you to go a safer way, to go a more efficient way, to go a different way. And so your brain is kind of like that GPS recalculating every time you reroute your mindset with a bridge thought. So you are still going to have your day, you're still going to go about your day, but you are going to be able to reroute and rewire your brain to be more positive, which will enable you and empower you to get things done in a better way that day. So bridge thoughts take practice, right? And it's something that you don't just do once and then you master. It truly is something that you have to continuously put intentional effort behind. But I want you to give it a try this week. I want you to, jot a couple of thoughts down in a notebook and then work on bridge thoughts that help you get them a little bit more positive. So here are 4 steps for how to do that. Number 1, name the thought. So write out the honest default first initial thought that you have about your mornings, okay? And it can be a couple, but just go ahead and write down a few of those thoughts that you have about your mornings. How does this thought make you feel? Does it make you feel stressed, rushed, defeated, resentful, deflated? How do you feel with that thought? And then I want you to flip it to a bridge thought. So use today's episode to help you turn that thought into a slightly more positive version. Now, don't gaslight yourself, right? Respect the reality of what you're feeling and challenge yourself to make a slight shift to a more positive thought. And then number 4, take action to make that bridge thought a reality. So revisit this new thought throughout your morning. You're going to have to remind yourself, right? Or even share it with a spouse or a friend. And if you enjoy journaling, you can then journal about that bridge thought as well. Now, with the bridge thoughts and with you having this tool, you might be wondering, what does this look like in real life? Well, next week, I'm going to be giving you a behind the scenes peek at my actual morning routine. It's not perfect. It is not this Instagram influencer, worthy type of morning routine, but it works and it's realistic and it works for me as a working mom. So be sure to come back for next week's episode and we will talk through my rhythm, my routines, and how I let go of the pressure to be perfect in the mornings with a morning routine. Now, there is so much more to cover about morning routines, and we are going to dive really deep in the Master Your Morning Routine workshop. So you can sign up at the link in the show notes, or you can head to theloradavis.com/morning. And by the end of that workshop, you are going to have your own personal morning routine that you feel good about and that you have certainty will work for you long term. So whether you are listening to this episode on a walk, during coffee, or in the car line to pick up your kids, your brain is on right now. So use that activation to practice one bridge thought before the rest of the day takes over. And I will see you in next week's episode.